60 Minutes Overtime.
What did you get out of this deal that you wanted?
Well, I got sort of everything that we wanted. We got no rare earth threat. That's gone, completely gone. We have tremendous amounts of dollars pouring in because we have very big tariffs, almost 50%. We never had anything in terms of tariffs, although I put tariffs on China, but Biden let it lapse by the fact that he gave exemptions on almost everything, which was just ridiculous. But we have billions and billions of dollars coming in, and we have a very good relationship. I mean, we have a great relationship with a powerful country, and I've always felt if we can make deals that are good, it's better to get along with China than not. If you can't make the right kind of a deal, then not. Because, you know, China, along with many other countries, they're not alone in this. They've ripped us off from day one. They've ripped us so much. They've taken trillions of dollars out of our country. And now it's the opposite. I mean, we're doing very well with China, and hopefully they're going to do very well with us. But I do think it's important that China and the U.S. get along, and we get along very well at the top.
This trade war, though, was hurting Americans. I mean, our soybean farmers, China had stopped buying the soybeans.
Yeah.
China was withholding these rare earth materials that you need for everything from smartphones to build submarines.
Sure.
What was the crucial thing? I mean, how tough of a
Well,
negotiator
when you
is
say
President
hurting,
Xi?
it was a temporary hurt. It was a hurt because I was taking in a lot of money from China. We were doing very well against China. And all of a sudden they said, you know, we have to fight back. And so they used their powers. The power they have is rare earth because of the fact that they've been accumulating it and really taking care of it for a period of 25, 30 years. Other countries haven't. They used that against us. And we used other things against them. For instance, airplane parts. That's a big deal. They have hundreds of Boeing airplanes. We wouldn't give them parts. We were both acting maybe a little bit irrationally, but the big thing we had was tariffs ultimately. I said, look, if you don't open up, then what we're going to do is we're going to impose 100% tariff over and above what you're already paying. And as soon as I said that, they came to the table. We met in South Korea, as you saw. A lot of people watched. And we made a really good deal. And it was good for them also, I hope. I mean, I want it to be good for both sides, but we'll be taking in hundreds of billions of dollars in the form of tariffs. You know, tariffs are incredible because they really give us great national security. As an example, when they pulled the rare earth on us and the rest of the world, if we didn't have tariffs to fight back, I immediately instituted a 100% tariff over and above what they were already paying. And when I did that, they immediately came to the table. Without tariffs, we would not have had that privilege. We would have not have had that right. Tariffs give us national security and great wealth.
You talked about those rare earth minerals. Of course,
Yeah.
my understanding is about 90% of them come from China. That's
Right
their,
now.
Yeah.
But within a short period of time, we'll have everything we need for ourselves. You know, we've instituted an emergency program, and we will have, within a year from now to a year and a half, we'll have everything we need, no matter what kind of a threat is made.
How? How do we do that?
Because we've taken over. First of all, you saw the partnerships we've established with Japan, with Australia, with UK, with just about everybody, frankly, and we're all doing it together. You know, this wasn't a threat against the United States. This was really a threat against the world. So the whole world has come together, I think, at our behest. And rare earths, within 2 years, rare earths will really cease to be a problem.
The one thing that China wants, but it doesn't have, is the world's most advanced semiconductors.
That's right.
That's what the United States has. Will you...
Chips, in particular.
Chips, that's right. Will you allow the chip maker NVIDIA to sell their most advanced chips to China?
No, we won't do that. But
It's not on the table at all.
we will let them deal with NVIDIA. NVIDIA is the prime company in the world for that. And we will let them deal with NVIDIA, but not in terms of the most advanced. The most advanced, we will not let anybody have them other than the United States.
Because then they would win the AI race.
Well, they wouldn't win it necessarily, but they would certainly have an equal advantage. Right now, we're winning it because we're producing electricity like never before by allowing the companies to make their own electricity. which was my idea, which nobody frankly had thought of. These massive plants that are being built are building their own electric generating plants along with the plant itself. And that gives them all the electric they need without going to an old grid that's, 150 years old. And they're making it themselves. And then they're selling back any excess electricity into the grid. So we benefit in all ways. But most importantly, it allows the companies to go immediately forward. We're getting approvals done in 2 and 3 weeks. It used to take 20 years. And we are leading the AI race right now by a lot. We are leading it by numbers that people have no idea. It's been really great. We've been very, very far-reaching for it. Look, that's the new internet. That's the new everything all put together. The AI race is a big deal.
Mr. President, you just negotiated this one-year trade deal
Yeah.
with China. But as you know, the Chinese, they think in 100 years.
Sure.
They play the long game, including on our own soil.
We play the long game, too.
Our own intelligence agencies say the Chinese have infiltrated parts of the American power grid and our water systems. They steal American intellectual property and Americans' personal information. They bought American farmland. How big of a threat is China?
It's like everybody else. We're a threat to them, too. Many of the things that you say, we do to them. Look, this is a very competitive world, especially when it comes to China and the U.S., and we're always watching them, and they're always watching us. In the meantime, I think we get along very well, and I think I think we can be bigger, better, and stronger by working with them as opposed to just knocking them out. The economy, they can produce things that we don't want to produce because it's not really worth our while. Making undergarments, making this, certain things. We don't want to do that, and we can buy them inexpensively from other places in the world, while we can lead the world in AI and chips and lots of other things. Within 2 years from now, we'll have 40 or 50% of the chip market. What's happening? The biggest companies are leaving Taiwan. They're coming into the United States because of tariffs. If we didn't have tariffs, they wouldn't be doing it.
In how many years you think we'll be
I think
producing?
in 2 years, we'll start opening up plants, and we'll have a very substantial portion of the chip market. Right now, we have almost none. We should have had 100%. If we had presidents that knew anything about business or knew what they were doing, because frankly, they didn't, we lost 50% of our automobile business. It's all coming back. We lost 100% of the chip. It used to be all Intel and other companies. And what happened is other countries came in and they stole our chip business, and we didn't charge tariffs. If we would have charged, let's say, a 100% tariff, none of those companies would have left, but they all left. Now they're all coming back, Nora. Because the only way they avoid the tariffs is to build in our country. If they build in our country, make their plant and make their product in our country, then it's a very simple thing. They don't have any tariff to pay. And that's what they want to do. And so instead of charging somebody a 100% tariff and you can make your product outside, they come in and they make, and this is why we have $17 trillion being invested in the United States right now. But just to show you how big that is, it's the biggest in history by many times. No other country's seen anything like it. The Biden administration in 4 years did less than $1 trillion. We have $17 trillion, more than $17 trillion right now, and I'm in my 9th month. By the time we finish up, I think we're going to have over $20 trillion invested in the United States or to be invested in the United States.
How will that trickle down to the average worker?
Because of jobs, because they're building plants. We're bringing back the auto industry into our country. We lost 58% of the automobile manufacturing business to other countries. We used to be the king of automobile and automobile manufacturing, and now we're not really the king anymore, as you know. Within a year and a half, 2 years, we're going to be the king again. We're going to, as an example, I was also in Japan, as you know, in South Korea. We had the biggest Japanese companies are investing billions of dollars of building auto plants in the United States. If I weren't elected, we would be losing all of these jobs. We would be losing far more of the auto industry. We would be nowhere in chips. Our country would have been bankrupt, and we would have had a bigger welfare roll. They would have expanded welfare and forgotten about everything else. Now we're building a country that's going to be so strong. I don't know if you saw the last numbers in terms of employment. They're all non-government jobs, not just government. Government jobs are easy. I could immediately do anything I want with government jobs. I just say we're going to add on 1 million government jobs, and you're going to say, oh, what wonderful numbers. They don't mean anything. We are building jobs at a level that nobody's ever seen before. But when all of these plants that are currently under construction and to be under construction, when they open, we're going to have an economy like our country has never seen before, the strongest economy in the world. We're doing very well. By the way, the stock market just hit, perfect timing for your show, just hit an all-time high. We're doing really well.
Can I ask you, Mr. President, on that point, though, when the stock market is doing well, that doesn't affect everybody. Not everybody's invested in the stock market.
It does.
But there have been grocery prices are up.
401ks. People have 401ks. Their 401ks are double what they were a year ago.
But for people that don't have 401ks or are not invested in the stock market,
but
they've seen their grocery prices go up, inflation.
No, you're wrong. They went up under Biden. Right now, they're going down. Other than beef, which we're working on, which we can solve very quickly. So the ranchers have really taken a drubbing over a 30-year period. Because of what I've done, the ranchers have done well. But with that, the beef price went up a little bit. We're going to get the beef price down very quickly. It'll be very nice, just like eggs. When I first took over, eggs were double, triple, quadruple what they were. This was because of Biden. All of these problems were caused by Biden, whether it's the people that came into our country through jails. I mean, they were released from jails. They were released from mental institutions into our country. These problems are caused by Biden. We had an open border. Now we have a border that's, as you know, absolutely shut, other than people are allowed to come into our country, but they have to come in legally.
I do want to talk about immigration and some other domestic issues, but just if we could stay on China for just a moment. One potential flashpoint with China, probably the potential flashpoint with China in the coming years, is over the issue of Taiwan. The Chinese military is encroaching on Taiwan's sea lanes, its airspace, its cyberspace. I know you have said that Xi Jinping wouldn't dare move militarily on Taiwan while you're in office. But what if he does? Would you order U.S. forces to defend Taiwan?
You'll find out if it happens. And he understands the answer to that.
Why not say
This never even came up yesterday as a subject. He never brought it up. People were a little surprised at that. He never brought it up because he understands it, and he understands it very well.
Do you mind if I ask, when you say he understands, why not communicate that publicly to the rest of us? What does he understand?
I don't want to give away. I can't give away my secrets. I don't want to be one of these guys that tells you exactly what's going to happen if something happens. The other side knows, but I'm not somebody that tells you everything because you're asking me a question. But they understand what's going to happen, and he has openly said, and his people have openly said at meetings, we would never do anything while President Trump is president, because they know the consequences.
Less than an hour before your meeting with President Xi, you posted on social media that you instructed the, quote, Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons immediately. What did you mean? Well,
we have more nuclear weapons than any other country. I think we should do something about denuclearization. And I did actually discuss that with both President Putin and President Xi. We have enough nuclear weapons to blow up the world 150 times. Russia has a lot of nuclear weapons, and China will have a lot. They have some. They have quite a bit.
So why do we need to test our nuclear weapons?
Well, because you have to see how they work. You know, you do have to. And the reason I'm saying testing is because Russia announced that they were going to be doing a test. If you notice, North Korea is testing constantly. Other countries are testing. We're the only country that doesn't test, and I don't want to be the only country that doesn't test.
Are you saying that after more than 30 years, the United States is going to start detonating nuclear weapons for
testing? I'm saying that we're going to test nuclear weapons like other countries do, yes.
But the only country that's testing nuclear weapons is North Korea. China and Russia are not.
No, Russia's testing nuclear weapons.
My understanding...
And China's testing them too, you just don't know about it.
That would be certainly very newsworthy. My understanding is what Russia did recently was test essentially the delivery systems for nuclear weapons, essentially missiles, which we can do that, but not with nuclear weapons.
Russia's testing and China's testing, but they don't talk about it. You know, we're a open society. We're different. We talk about it. We have to talk about it because otherwise you people are going to report. They don't have reporters that are going to be writing about it. We do. No, we're going to test because they test and others test, and certainly North Korea's been testing. Pakistan's been testing.
Not nuclear weapons, is my understanding. North
course
Korea
they have.
has, but not nuclear
But they don't
weapons.
go and tell you about it. And, as powerful as they are, this is a big world. You don't necessarily know where they're testing. They test way underground where people don't know exactly what's happening with the test. You feel a little bit of a vibration. They test, and we don't test. We have to test. And Russia did make a, little bit of a threat the other day when they said they were going to do certain forms of a different level of testing. But Russia tests, China does test, and we're going to test also.
So we are going to
Doesn't it sort of make
we're-
sense? You make nuclear weapons, and then you don't test. How are you going to do that? How are you going to know if they work? We have to do that.
Apparently, we don't need to test our nuclear weapons because they're the best in the world, according to experts I've spoken with.
According to me, we have the best, and I was the one that renovated them and built them during a 4-year period. And I hated to do it because the destructive capability is something you don't even want to talk about. But if other people are going to have them, we're going to have them. And if we have them, we have to test them. Otherwise, you don't really know how they're going to work. And we don't want to ever use them. And in the meantime, I've solved 8 wars. I knocked out 8 wars. I had 8 wars. I brought a little list for you if you'd like to see it. But I took 8 wars and stopped during an 8-month period. During 8 months, before the 9th month, I stopped 8 wars. The only one I haven't been successful yet in, and that'll happen, is Russia-Ukraine, which I thought actually would be the easiest one because I have a very good relationship with President Putin. But we are respected again as a country, and that's the way I've been able to stop the wars. I also stopped them because of trade.
Who's tougher to deal with, Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping?
Both tough, both smart, both, look, they're both very strong leaders. These are people not to be toyed with. These are people you have to take very serious. They're not walking in saying, oh, isn't it a beautiful day? Look how beautiful the sun is shining. It's so nice. These are serious people. These are people that are tough, smart leaders.
And on that note, you talk about Ukraine. In August, you rolled out the red carpet for Vladimir Putin in Alaska, but there's been...
Well, I roll out the red carpet for everybody.
But there's been no
I think I made,
ceasefire.
no, there
Is he
isn't, because he
ignoring
thinks,
you?
because I inherited a country where he thinks he's winning. That was a war that would have never happened if I was president.
So why
But that
won't
was,
Putin
that
end
was,
this war?
But Nora, that was Joe Biden's war, not my war. I inherited that stupid war. That should not have been a war. That would have never happened if I were president. And by the way, for 4 years, it didn't happen. There was never even a doubt. Then the election was rigged and stolen, and all of a sudden you see them forming up at the line, and now I come back, and I'm going to get that one solved too. But I brought, just a little list of look at this, wars. How many did I solve? Cambodia, this is Cambodia, Thailand, Kosovo, Serbia, Congo, the Congo and Rwanda, Pakistan and India. That was going to be a beauty. They shot down 7 planes. Israel and Iran. You've heard about that one? Egypt and Ethiopia. That's another beauty. Ethiopia built a big dam where there's no water going to the Nile. Armenia and Azerbaijan. And if you take a look, Israel and Hamas, which is a rough little situation, but it's going to be.
I do want to talk about, you have branded yourself the peace president.
Well, I think I did pretty good. I solved, those are 8 of the 9 wars I solved. You know how I solved them? I said, in many cases, in 60%, I said, if you don't stop fighting, I'm putting tariffs on both of your countries, and you're not going to be able to do business with the United States.
Why isn't that working with Putin?
It is working with Putin, I think. I did different with him because we don't do very much business with Russia, for one thing. He's not like somebody that buys a lot from us because of foolishness. And I think he'd like to be. I think he wants to come in and he wants to trade with us and he wants to make a lot of money for Russia. And I think that's great. That's what I like.
Can you get it done in a couple of months, do you think?
I think we're going to get it done, yeah. I think he really wants to do business with the U.S. But it did work with India, and it did work with Pakistan, and it did work with 60% of those countries. I can tell you, if it wasn't for tariffs and trade, I wouldn't have been able to make the deals. But I stopped, as an example, India does a lot of business with us. They were going to war. They were going to have a nuclear war with Pakistan. The Prime Minister of Pakistan stood up the other day, and he said, if Donald Trump didn't get involved, many millions of people would be dead right now. That was a bad war. It was ready to start.
Let's talk
shut
about
down
it.
airplanes all over the place. That was going to be a bad war. And I told both of them, I said, if you guys don't work out a deal fast, you're not going to do any business with the United States. And they do a lot of business with the United States. And they were both great leaders, and they worked out a deal and they stopped the war. That would have been a bad war. It would have been a nuclear war.
I want to stay on the issue of foreign policy, and let's turn to our hemisphere. There have been at least 8 boats in the Caribbean destroyed by the U.S. military.
Fortunately.
And now the USS Gerald Ford, that is the world's largest aircraft carrier, on the way to the Caribbean. Are we going to war against Venezuela?
I doubt it. I don't think so. But they've been treating us very badly, not only on drugs. They've dumped hundreds of thousands of people into our country that we didn't want. People from prisons, they emptied their prisons into our country. They also, if you take a look, they emptied their mental institutions and their insane asylums into the United States of America, because Joe Biden was the worst president in the history of our country. We had the worst inflation, we had the worst of everything. But the worst thing he did was allow millions of people to come into our country that were in many cases, criminals, murderers. 11,888 murderers were let into our country. Venezuela let a lot of those people in, but they were from all over the world. This isn't just Venezuela. They were from all over the world.
We are going to talk about...
And what he did to our country should never be forgotten. He had an open border process, and people would come in, and I'm not discriminating against tattoos, but people would come in with tattoos all over their faces and say, come on in, come on in, come on in. They let people in that should have never been. Venezuela emptied their prisons into the United States of America. And every one of those boats that you see shot down, and I agree, it's a terrible thing, but every one of those boats kills 25,000 Americans. Every single boat that you see that's shot down kills 25,000 on drugs and destroys families all over our country.
We will talk about immigration in a moment, but I just want to talk about the scale of the military operation around Venezuela, because it has been described to 60 Minutes as using a blowtorch to cook an egg. Is this about stopping...
Well, I don't think so. Look.
Is it about, let me ask you though, is it about stopping narcotics, or is this about getting rid of President Maduro?
No, this is about many things. This is a country that allowed their prisons to be emptied into our country. To me, that would be almost number one, because we have other countries. Look, Mexico has been very bad to us in terms of drugs, okay? Very bad. We have a closed border right now. You probably noticed that for 5 months in a row, they have zero, think of this, 0 people coming into our country through our southern border. And it was millions of people a year, just a little more than a year ago. Millions of people a year walked into our country totally unchecked, unvetted. We had no idea who they were. And we're never going to let that happen again. That's what made Biden the worst president, because you know what? Inflation, I've already taken care of. We had the worst inflation in the history of our country, and now we don't have inflation. It's at 2%. It's the perfect inflation. But what made him so bad? Well, the weaponization of law enforcement, all of that. Look, he was bad in every way. But the worst thing that he did is allow millions and millions and millions of people to pour into our country, unvetted, unchecked. And they were criminals, they were murderers, they were drug dealers, they were people from jails and people from mental institutions.
You have had success on immigration. I want to talk about that in a minute. But on Venezuela in particular...
Big success.
On Venezuela in particular, are Maduro's days as president numbered?
I would say, yeah. I think so, yeah.
And this issue of potential land strikes in Venezuela, is that true?
I don't tell you that. I mean, I'm not saying it's true or untrue, but I wouldn't.
Why would
I
we
wouldn't
do
be
it?
inclined to say that I would do that, but because I don't talk to a reporter about whether or not I'm going to strike. I'm not going to. You're a wonderful reporter. You're very talented, but I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do with Venezuela, if I was going to do it or if I wasn't going to do it.
Why do we need an aircraft carrier and strike group out?
It's got to be somewhere.
Okay.
It's a big one.
It leads to the suggestion that the United States military is planning a larger operation involving Venezuela.
Well, we're not going to allow countries from, it's countries from all over the world coming in. They come in from the Congo, where we just settled that war, but they come in from the Congo. They come in from all over the world. They're coming, not just from South America, but Venezuela in particular has been bad. They have gangs, Tren de Aragua. Do you ever hear of it?
Of course.
Most vicious gang anywhere in the world. They cut people's hands off if they call up the cops. They call up the police, and they said, did you call the police? Yes, I did. You took my apartment. You live in my building. You took my apartment. They cut his hand off. Don't ever call the police again. These are animals. Wait a minute. And they came in from Venezuela. Worst gang, probably the worst gang, most vicious gang in the world. And you know what I did in Washington, D.C.? We had a lot of them. took care of business, they're gone. Washington, D.C. right now is a very safe place, as it should be. Washington, D.C., before I got here, was almost like a crime capital of the world. It's a capital of this country. To me, it's the capital of the world. You see the way they treat me. I go to Japan. I go to South Korea. I go to China. Any place I go. And you know what I call that? Respect for our country. They didn't treat Biden that way. When Biden went there, first of all, he hardly went anywhere. The guy couldn't leave his bedroom. But they didn't treat Biden that way. They had no respect for Biden, falling up the stairs, going to an airplane 3 times. I mean, this is a man who should have never been president. This was a rigged election. And we have to get back. We have to get to the bottom of that also, because we don't want that to ever happen again. You see what's going on. We don't ever want that to happen again. Look what happened to our country by having Biden as the president. Our country went to hell. And if we had another couple of years, if Kamala had won the election, our country right now would be finished. It was a dead country. And now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. We have the strongest stock market. We have everybody wants to come in. A year ago, we were a dead country. Right now, we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. Think of that. And I did that in 9 months. And it's only going to get better.
Let's talk about Israel. You got the remaining Israeli hostages out of Gaza.
Did.
You arranged a ceasefire, however fragile that may be. Those are
It's
major.
not fragile. It's a very solid, I mean, you hear about Hamas, but Hamas could be taken out immediately if they don't behave. They know that. If they don't behave, they're going to be taken out immediately.
How do you get Hamas to disarm?
If I want them to disarm, I'll get them to disarm very quickly. They'll be eliminated. They know that. Don't forget, you said I got the remaining hostages. I got all the hostages out. But I always said the last 10 or 20 are going to be tough. But we were tough also, and they let them all out.
You were tough.
And now, by the way, they're getting a lot of the bodies are coming out too. Do you know a lot of the parents, it's very interesting, were the people that lost their child, mostly sons, but sons and daughters. They knew they were dead in some cases. Do you know that they were as anxious or even more anxious of getting their child out, even though they knew it was a body that we were dealing with, than the people that had a living child, living, breathing child, that they knew they were alive, if barely, because the way they lived was so horrible. And you saw yesterday 4 more just came out. We're going to get them out too. They're buried in many cases. They're buried under rubble, but we pretty much know where they were. But I didn't get just the 20 out. I got all of the hostages out.
You pushed the Israeli prime minister to make this deal, to get a ceasefire, to apologize to Qatar. Can you push Bibi Netanyahu to recognize a Palestinian state?
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. Look, he's a wartime prime minister. I worked very well with him. Yeah, I mean, I had to push him a little bit one way or the other. I think I did a great job in pushing him. He's a very talented guy. He's a guy that has never been pushed before, actually. That's the kind of person you needed in Israel at the time. It was very important. I don't think they treat him very well. He's under trial for some things, and I don't think they treat him very well. I think it should, we'll be involved in that to help him out a little bit, because I think it's very unfair. I did. I pushed him. I didn't like certain things that he did, and you saw what I did about that. I also stopped, we knocked the hell out of Iran, and then it was time to stop, and we stopped. Iran wants to make a deal. They don't say that, and they probably shouldn't say, no good deal maker would, but Iran very much wants to make a deal. The key to Middle East peace, I made Middle East peace. For 3,000 years, they couldn't do it. I did it, and I did it with some very good partners in Israel. But the key to the Middle East peace was knocking the hell out of their potential nuclear. When we, with those beautiful B-2 bombers, we just ordered 20 brand new ones, the newest and the greatest, but with those beautiful B-2 bombers, when they went in there and they blew the hell out of that, potential nuclear weapon site, there were 2 of them actually, and every single missile hit every single air shaft. They had to go down an air shaft. Every single one of them hit their target. I remember fake news CNN said, well, maybe it wasn't as powerful or as good as we thought. No, it was turned out it was actually better. The Atomic Energy Agency said the hit was even stronger than anyone ever thought possible. And those pilots did a great job. What they were able to do, and those machines, But it wasn't only them. They were surrounded by F-22s and F-16s. They were surrounded by F-35s. Do you know we had 52 tanker planes loading them up with jet fuel because it was a long flight. They flew for 37 hours. Of course, I flew for 42 hours over the last few days, so I know how they feel. But
Except there's a bathroom
but
on
they
Air
were
Force
sitting
One.
in one seat. I was able to walk around a little bit. But yeah, they said 42 hours. I've been in the air for 42 hours over a few days, and that was fine because we took in trillions of dollars into our country, and we also, you know what's interesting? Japan took tremendous advantage of us over the years. You know, they sold cars to us. We couldn't sell cars to them. They made a fortune. We didn't make anything. We lost money. But it's the exact opposite now. But you know what? They like us more now than they used to because they respect us now. They didn't used to respect us, and they have great respect for us. All of them. Every country I saw, including China. China now has great respect for us. They didn't have respect for us when they had Biden and when they had Obama. Obama was a terrible president. Nobody wants to talk about it because they want to be politically correct. I don't care. He was a terrible president. Our country it really started a very bad downward spiral. Then I stopped it. Then we had a rigged election. And then what Biden did to our country should never, ever be forgotten.
We're still on foreign policy, so I just
No,
have another
I'm
question.
on
to ask
all
you.
policy. I'm
I
not
know you
talking
are.
about foreign. No. I'm talking about everything.
Well, I just
I'm
wanted
talking
to-
about economy. I'm talking about everything.
I wanted to ask you about the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia
Yeah.
is coming to the White House
That's right.
this month. He has said they won't join the Abraham Accords without a two-state solution. Do you believe that?
No, I think he's going to join. I think we will have a solution. I don't know if it's going to be two-state. That's going to be up to Israel and other people and me. But look, the main thing is you could have never had any kind of a deal if you had a nuclear Iran. And you essentially had a nuclear Iran. And I blasted the hell out of them. And no president
Are
has
you
wanted
convinced
to
they have no nuclear capability right now?
Do you want to
Iran?
know? Do you want to know? They have no nuclear capability. No. Do you want to know that the pilots? I invited them to the White House because they
saw
were
that.
very brave. I mean, I wouldn't have wanted to do it. You know, get in a plane and they know you're coming and you're going right into Iran airspace, and you know they're very experts, and you're flying in with machines. Personally, I can think of other things I'd rather do. These guys are very brave people. I mean, they're real American heroes. And they told me something I didn't know. They said, sir, for 22 years, we've been practicing this route 3 times a year, every year for 22 years, and you were the only president that let us do our job. I said, let me ask you, is this a job you wanted to do? Yes, sir, because it was the right thing. These are really brave people. These are really amazing people and talented people. When you can hit at midnight with no moon, with no vision, every single air shaft where that bomb went deep into that mountain and exploded and beat the hell out of it, I'll tell you what, they deserve to come to the White House. I gave them all a medal. They deserve to come to the White House, and it was a pleasure to meet them. These are great people. We have great people in this country.
Mr. President, we've talked about foreign policy, and now let's focus on issues here at home,
Okay,
some of that
sure.
you have already mentioned. We are now approaching the longest shutdown in American history.
Democrats' fault.
Under your presidency, we're talking about more than 1 million federal workers who are not getting a paycheck, including our air traffic controllers. You see there's traffic snarls out at the airports now.
Sure.
This weekend, food aid for more than 42 million Americans is set to expire. What are you doing as president to end the shutdown?
All we're doing is we keep voting. I mean, the Republicans are voting almost unanimously to end it, and the Democrats keep voting against ending it. You know, they've never had this. This has happened like 18 times before. The Democrats always voted for an extension, always saying, give us an extension, we'll work it out. They've lost their way. They've become crazed lunatics. And all they have to do, Nora, is say, let's vote. And you can open, the economy could open up during our interview.
Is there something you
Maybe
can do,
it did.
though? Is there something you
All
can
I can
do to bring this
is
to
give
an
the
end?
facts. Here's what I can't do. I can't give them $1.5 trillion so that they can give welfare to people that came into our country illegally, so that prisoners and that people from mental institutions and people that are drug dealers get vast amounts of money for health care. That I can't do.
So my
What I can do is I can continue to run a great country. We have the best economy we've ever had. I can continue to do that. What they should do, look, this started a long time ago. I always said, and you know I've been very consistent, Obamacare is terrible. It's bad health care at far too high a price. We should fix that. We should fix it. And we can fix it with the Democrats. All they have to do is let the country open and we'll fix it. They have to
ending
let
the
the
government
country
shutdown-
open and I'll sit down with the Democrats and we'll fix it. But they have to let the country. And
So
you know what
your
they have
plan-
to do? All they have to do is raise 5 hands. We don't need all of them.
But so you're saying your plan is to tell the Democrats to vote to end the shutdown?
Correct, very simple.
And that you will put forward a health care plan?
No, we will work on fixing the bad health care that we have. Right now, we have terrible health care at too expensive for the people. Not for the government, for the people.
But,
The
Mr. President, with
people
all due
are
respect,
paying-
you've been talking about fixing the health care
Sure,
insurance
and
plan
you
since
can't do it
2015.
because of the Democrats.
But
That's
since
right.
2015, you've said you'd fix it.
I've been talking about it for a long time. We almost did it. We were 1 vote short. We would have had great health care. We were 1 vote short, and a couple of senators that we currently have made the mistake, and they made a big mistake. John McCain made a mistake, frankly. We were 1 vote short. We would have had great health care. And I've been saying ever since, we can fix it. It's too expensive. It's got 2 things. It's too expensive and it's lousy health care. It's too expensive for the people. They're going to get a very big increase this year.
Well, they're going to get an
and it's
increase
because-
if you don't extend the subsidies.
No, but the subsidies is part of it. We're supposed to spend trillions of dollars to take care of something that is defective. What I'm saying is we can make it much less expensive for people and give them much better health care.
But where is
and
that
I'd
plan?
be willing to
But
work
where's
with the
that plan?
Democrats on it. The problem is they want to give money to prisoners, to drug dealers, to all these millions of people that were allowed to come in with an open border from Biden, and nobody can do that.
Can I
Not
just-
one Republican would ever do that.
My understanding is if those health care subsidies are not extended, premiums will double for many of the people that are on it. And I was looking into it. 3/4 of these people will see their health care premiums double. Live in states where you won in the last election. I mean, even here in Florida has the highest number of residents on Obamacare in the country.
And I'm
If
saying we
those-
can fix it, Nora.
But if the subsidies are not extended, they're not going to be able to afford
It was
health
a
insurance.
defective plan put into line by Barack Hussein Obama, who was a lousy president, not nearly as bad as Biden, by the way, who, by the way, is building a museum that's like 4 times over budget. It'll never open. Built in a neighborhood that, it's just not going to work. The neighborhood doesn't even want them. And it's a disaster. The same guy that did his museum, which is a total catastrophe, came up with a bad health care plan. And for the sake of 1 vote, we would have had,
I
it's so
guess the
sad
question-
thinking back.
I hear you.
If we had the vote, that 1 vote, we would have great health care at a much lower cost. And that's what I want. But I don't want to give $1.5 trillion to prisoners and drug dealers and people that came into our country from mental institutions. What they allowed to come into our country, and we're getting them out, but what they allowed to come into our country, Nora, is horrible. So, ready? We can make it good.
I don't want to get into too much
No,
of a
but
back and
here's
forth
all
on
they
this.
have to do.
Yeah.
Open up the country. Open up the country. We only
Meaning
need
end the
5
shutdown.
of their votes. We only need 5 votes. And already a few Democrats are already voting. They want to open up, and we'll fix all of those problems. Those problems are much easier than what I just did with solving all these wars.
Last question.
Wait a minute. We had 9 wars on our planet. I solved 8 of them. I have 1 to go, Russia, Ukraine. I thought that was going to be one of the easier ones, but it's not because Putin is tougher than people.
You have helped end these government shutdowns in the past
I
when they
did.
came about,
I
and
did.
you did it by bringing
I'm very
them.
good at it,
You
but I'm
brought
not going to
members of
do it by.
Congress
I'm not going to
to
do
the
it by
White House.
extortion. I'm not going to do it by being extorted by the Democrats who have lost their way. There's something wrong with these people.
So then what happens on November
is a
15th when the
basket
troops
case.
don't get a paycheck?
Schumer is a basket case, and he has nothing to lose. He's become, I just left Japan, he's become a kamikaze pilot. This
It
guy.
sounds like this is not gonna
guy
get
is
solved.
a kamikaze. He would rather see the country fail than have Trump and the Republicans do well. But the people don't want that.
I hear you.
So
It
we have
sounds
a
like-
record-setting country right now, and we're not going to be extorted by a man who's grossly incompetent, who is going to be defeated by any one of 5 different candidates. We don't
Sounds
wanna
like
let
this
that
is not
happen.
going to get solved.
Say it.
Sounds like it's not going to get solved, the shutdown.
It's going to get solved, yeah. Oh, it's going to get solved.
How?
We'll get it solved. Eventually, they're going to have to vote.
You're saying the Democrats will capitulate.
I think they have to. And if they don't vote, that's their problem. Now, I happen to agree with something else. I think we should do the nuclear option. This is a totally different nuclear, by the way. It's called ending the filibuster.
Did you see John Thune said today they're
I
not
know
going to do
John
that?
doesn't, well, John and a few others, but you know what? The Republicans have to get tougher. If we end the filibuster, we can do exactly what we want. We're not going to lose power. The theory is, oh, then we'll do it, but then when they get into power someday, they'll do it. That's true, but you know what?
So you think John
We're
Thune-
here right now. No, I like John Thune. I think he's terrific, but I disagree with him on this point.
He said today he wasn't going to do it.
Well, that's too bad. You know, I mean, I think we're much better off, because here's the problem. The Democrats will do it in the first week in office. The Democrats, and I told that to John, and I get along with them great. We've had a great relationship. And I also know there are other Republicans that feel the other way, and I understand that too, but they're wrong. The Democrats will do it. If they get into power, and someday I guess they will, who knows? It's hard to believe when they have men and women sports, open borders, open everything, a transgender for everyone. The Democrats will do it in their first day in office. And the only reason they didn't do it is because of Sinema and because of a man named Joe Manchin from West
Senator
Virginia, a
Kyrsten
good man.
Sinema.
And they disagreed with it. Now, wait, had they approved it, I think just one of them, had they been able to get those votes, you would have had the nuclear option used. You would have had the filibuster ended, and the Democrats would have used it. So I say to the Republicans that want to be, you know, all like, oh, well, we're above all that, the Democrats will do it. See, the Republicans have much better policy. We have smart policy. We have great policy. That's how we win. The Democrats are vicious. They're vicious. They have horrible policy, but they are the most vicious human beings on earth. They are people that weaponize government. They do a lot of bad things.
Can
But
I ask you
the
about-
good thing is, from our standpoint, from the standpoint of winning, is they have the worst policy of, it's hard to believe, think of it, open borders, men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody. I mean, I could go point. These
Can I
are
ask
not
you about the
80-20.
economy?
These are 99-1 issues, and they don't change. I just watched this morning a
Mr.
show
President,
where.
can I ask you about
Yeah,
the economy?
just one thing. I watched a show this morning where a very well-known Democrat congressman was fighting like hell for men playing in women's sports. They don't change. They
Who
don't
was
learn.
that?
I don't want to tell you. You'll be able to check it. Just check your local TV.
Okay. On the economy, the signature part of your economic plan is tariffs. The Supreme Court is going to hear arguments this week on whether you have the authority to impose these sweeping tariffs without congressional approval. The lower courts have ruled against you. That's why it's at the Supreme Court right now.
Very close rulings, yeah.
What happens to your economic plan if the Supreme Court invalidates your tariffs?
I think our country would be immeasurably hurt. I think our economy will go to hell. Look, because of tariffs, we have the highest stock market we've ever had. Because of tariffs, 401ks at the highest level, and this is millions and millions of people that we've ever had, 401ks. I think it's the most important subject discussed by the Supreme Court in 100 years. If they take away the power of tariffs from us, and it has to be quick and nimble. You can't have Congress where hundreds of people have to look. They can't even agree to continue a country. You can't have Congress. This has to be quick and nimble.
Well, you just
As an
finished that
example,
sentence. You said, if they take away my power to do tariffs, what?
It would be a very sad day for the United States of America. We're making a lot of money. We're respected again all over the world. We have great national security. Let me give you an example. With China, they were, very strongly threatening us, frankly, with the rare earths. And then I said, well, if you're going to play that card, I'm going to put a 100% tariff on over and above what you're already paying, which was 55%, which was very high. A lot of money coming in, tremendous money like we've never seen. I'm going to put a 100% tariff on everything over and above. And you know what happened? We got a phone call 20 minutes later. We'd like to talk. If they take away the right to tariff, if we're forced to use Congress to approve, they can't approve anything. They would be sitting around for years debating whether or not we should use tariffs.
You
If they
want that
take-
power. You want that
You
executive
need
power.
it to protect our country. This is a national security. Tariffs are national security. If you take away the right to tariff, and remember this, tariffs have been used against us.
And can you just answer that question that tariffs have led to inflation? They have led to an increase in
They
cost
haven't
of
led to
living for
inflation.
most
We have
Americans.
no inflation. We have no inflation. Biden had inflation and he didn't have tariffs. He didn't use
So for
tariffs.
the average
you know why he
American-
didn't use them? Because he's not smart enough to
But the
use them.
companies say they've passed on more than 30% of these costs to the American consumer,
ready?
the
Are
tariffs,
you
and
ready?
somebody has to pay for it.
Yeah, you have to pay, but we don't have any inflation. Inflation is the real test of paying. Everybody said, oh, if you do tariffs, you're going to have inflation. So Biden had the highest inflation in the history of our country by far, okay? No tariffs. I have very modest tariffs compared. Let me tell you, these tariffs ultimately are so good that at some point, when they're used properly, and I use them more properly than anybody's ever even dreamt possible, think of it. We've become rich. We're taking in trillions of dollars, and I have no inflation. And I have total national security. When I put the 100% tariff on China over and above what they were already paying, which was about 55%, so 155, they came to the table immediately, and they made a deal with us that was a very fair deal. That's called national security. And then I didn't make them pay the 100%. That would have been instituted. That would have come to fore on November 1st.
I know our time with you is
Nora,
limited.
listen to me.
I hear you.
If I didn't have the power of tariff, we would be like a subject nation. We'd be subject to everyone else. Everybody uses tariffs on us. If I wasn't allowed to use tariffs on them, we'd be a third world nation.
I know your time is limited, so I do want to make sure I get through more of these topics.
Sure.
Immigration. You campaigned on immigration. You largely won the election on a promise to
a
close
great
the
job,
border,
don't you think?
and you succeeded
Yeah.
on that. Illegal crossings at the southern border are at a 55-year low. More recently, Americans have been watching videos of ICE tackling a young mother, tear gas being used in a Chicago residential neighborhood, and the smashing of car windows. Have some of these raids gone too far?
No, I think they haven't gone far enough because we've been held back by the judges, by the liberal judges that were put in by Biden and by Obama.
You're okay with those tactics?
Yeah, because you have to get the people out. You know, you have to look at the people. Many of them are murderers. Many of them are people that were thrown out of their countries because they were, criminals.
Well, you promised in your campaign that you were going to deport the worst of the worst.
That's what
Violent
we're
criminals,
doing that.
rapists.
Well, that's what we're
But
doing.
a lot of the people that your administration has arrested and deported aren't violent criminals. Landscapers, nannies, construction workers,
Landscapers
farm
who are criminals.
workers.
Yeah. No, look.
The family of
I
U.S.
need
service members.
landscapers and I need farmers more than anybody, okay?
Is it your intent to deport people who do not have a criminal record?
We have to start off with a policy, and the policy has to be you came into the country illegally, you're going to go out. However, you've also seen you're going to go out, we're going to work with you, and you're going to come back into our country legally because we have a lot of good people. We have some great people. But the problem we have, and people don't like talking about,
But there
these
isn't
these are very smart countries. Their leaders are very smart. They're very streetwise. They might not have gone to the finest schools, but they're very streetwise. They don't want their good people. They want people that are bad out. So what do? They open their jails, they let them out. They get rid of their drug deals, they let them out. But you know who else they get out? The people that are on welfare that aren't working. In other words, they have people that just don't work. They don't want people that just don't work. So they put them into our country.
But if someone has
And
been in
we've
this...
accepted all of these people because of Biden's open border policy where people would walk in totally unchecked and unvetted, murderers and everybody else.
When will you declare mission accomplished on immigration?
Well, it takes a long time because, probably I say 25 million people were let into our country. A lot of people say it was 10 million people, but whether it was 10 or I believe I'm much closer to the right number. Of the 25, many of them should not be here. But we're cleaning up our cities. I campaigned on crime, but I've done a much better job on crime than I thought. The crime numbers are way down, even though we have a lot more people in our country that really shouldn't be here, and many of them are stone cold, hard criminals. When I look at D.C. now, you can walk down the middle of the street. You can have your daughter, who's 10 years old, meet you at the park. She's going to be okay.
In
she
certain
would have
parts
been
of
murdered.
DC.
Well,
I live in
almost,
DC.
Well,
Certain parts
you
of
tell
DC.
me, how big a difference is DC now compared to what it was a year ago? Right? I mean, you have to be honest with me. People in the White House, they walk up to me, young ladies I've never seen, sir, thank you very much. I know, they don't even have to tell me what they're thanking me for. But when I ask why, he said, one girl said, I'd get into Uber, and I felt dangerous even in Uber. They'd attack the car, okay? It wasn't even safe then. Sir, I now walk to work every day, and I'm so safe. There's nothing going to happen, 100% safe. And you know that too, Nora.
I want to ask you about
You
this.
live here, you know that too.
I want to ask you about
Do you see a difference?
American
Do you
cities
see a difference?
in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
I think I've been working too hard. I haven't been out and about
Oh,
that
that's
much.
not a fair answer. You see a difference.
I get in my car
Okay,
and go
that's
to
a
work
good
and I go
answer.
home.
You don't have to use that one. Don't worry. Don't worry. I don't want to embarrass
I've been
her.
working too hard.
It's like, you know what the
Yeah.
difference is? Like day and night.
Want to ask you more about some American cities.
Sure.
We're on the eve a number of big state and local elections. One of the most watched is the one for mayor of New York City.
Yeah.
Zoran Mandami, 34-year-old Democratic socialist. He's the front runner.
Communist, not socialist, communist. He's
Some-
far worse than a socialist.
Some people have compared him to a left-wing version of you, charismatic, breaking the old rules. What do you think about that?
Well, I think I'm a much better looking person than him, right?
Okay. Well, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who you know is campaigning for mayor, he recently said that if Mandami becomes mayor of New York City, that you will take over New York. Cuomo said this. He said he will be President Trump and Mayor Trump. He's going to take over New York and send tanks down Fifth Avenue.
Oh, that's so crazy. Look, when I left New York, we were at the epitome of it was a great city. It was doing great. It was a great city, but there was some bad signs because we had a guy named de Blasio who was the worst mayor. Like I say, Biden was the worst president. De Blasio was the worst mayor.
But what
in
if
the history of-
Mandami becomes mayor?
It's going to be hard for me as the president to give a lot of money to New York because if you have a communist running New York, all you're doing is wasting the money you're sending there. So I don't know that he's won, and I'm not a fan of Cuomo one way or the other, but if it's going to be between a bad Democrat and a communist, I'm going to pick the bad Democrat all the time, to be honest with you.
This past Tuesday, while speaking to American troops in Japan, you talked about U.S. cities that are having trouble with crime, and you said, if we need more than the National Guard, we'll send more than the National Guard. What does that mean, send more than the National Guard?
Well, if you had to send in the Army or if you had to send in the Marines, I'd do that in a heartbeat. You know, you have a thing called the Insurrection Act. You know that, right? Do you know that I could use that immediately and no judge can even challenge you on that? But I haven't chosen to do it because I haven't felt we need it.
So you're going to send the military into American cities?
Well, if I wanted to, I could, if I wanted to use the Insurrection Act. The Insurrection Act has been used routinely by presidents, and if I needed it, that would mean I could bring in the Army, the Marines, I could bring in whoever I want. But I haven't chosen to use it. I hope you give me credit for that.
I want to ask you about another matter. James Comey, John Bolton, Letitia James were all recently indicted. There's a pattern to these names. They're all public figures who have publicly denounced you. Is it political
You
retribution?
know what? You know who got indicted? The man you're looking at. I got indicted, and I was innocent. And here I am because I was able to beat all of the nonsense that was thrown at me. And yet, when you go after a dirty cop like Comey, or a guy like Bolton, who I hear I don't know anything about it, I hear he took records all over the place, who knows? Letitia James is a terrible, dishonest person, in my opinion.
No, I was just asking,
And
is it
Comey's a
political
dirty
retribution?
cop. Look, Comey's known as a dirty cop. I'm not known as a dirty person. They indicted me many times. Indicted me. They were after me. I'm looking at you now, President of the United States. I went through numerous indictments and 2 impeachments. And you tell me that I went after people? These people are dishonest. Look, Biden didn't have a clue. He illegally used, as you know, a machine, the AutoPen, in order to give pardons to people. The only pardon he signed, it looks like, was his son, Hunter. He signed Hunter's, so Hunter, you're free. Congratulations, Hunter. But everyone else, I think those pardons are all were just a waste of time.
Did you instruct the Department of Justice to go after them?
Not in any way, shape, or form. No, you don't have to instruct them because they were so dirty, they were so crooked, they were so corrupt that the honest people we have, Pam Bondi's doing a very good job, Kash Patel's doing a very good job. The honest people that we have go after them automatically. But they instructed them to go after me because the records now have been found. So when you tell me about, I went after Comey, Comey's low on the totem pole. They went after the President of the United States. Do you know that they raided my house in Palm Beach, Florida, called Mar-a-Lago? They raided my house. I had 78 or 98 FBI agents with arms
I know how
come
you
into my house, and you're telling me, Nora, that I went after some lowlife named Comey, who's adjudged to be a crooked guy. He lied all over the place. He lied to Congress and did many other bad things.
Well, I was just asking,
For that,
is
you
this,
should be ashamed.
no, I was just asking, is this retribution on your
No,
part?
it's the opposite. I think I've been very mild-mannered. You're looking at a man who was indicted many times, and I had to beat the rap. Otherwise, I couldn't have run for president. They tried to get me not to run for president by going after me and by indicting me. But even during my term, on a perfect phone call, I got impeached. This call was perfect. Tim Scott from South Carolina, highly respected, a legitimate person, totally legit. He read the thank goodness we had a transcript of the call. The call I got indicted on, a call on Ukraine of all places with the president of Ukraine. It was a perfect phone call. Tim Scott said, I just read the transcript. The president didn't do anything wrong. It was perfect. And that was the end of the indictment pretty much. But I had to go through a whole process. You know, the Democrats knew that I wasn't guilty because they didn't know the call was, I didn't know either. The call was essentially taped. So we knew exactly what the call. When they found out that the call was taped, Nancy Pelosi went crazy. They said, you made me go into this mess. She screamed at all these people that made her do it, bad people like Schiff, et cetera, et cetera. So what happened is she went nuts. And just to conclude, and they said, let's do it anyway. They did it anyway, and I won very easily, as you know. But you can't then accuse me of weaponizing government. They were horrible human beings. They went after the President of the United States. They went after my children. They went into my wife's drawers. They went into my wife's closets. They held the dresses up. She came back. She said, oh, what happened? What happened? Because she's a very meticulous person. Everything's nice and neat.
Heard you talk
All of a sudden, everything's like, they went into my office. They took things that I was allowed to have filed under the Presidential Records Act that I was allowed to have. I had records. I was allowed to have them. Only the president's allowed, but I was, and there was nothing very significant anyway. There was like nothing. Wait, just 1 second. They opened these. I'm a very meticulous person, too. I have files, beautiful. They took the files, threw them all over the phone, all over the floor. They were all over the floor. And they took pictures of them. This is my office. I said, what the hell? That's not my office. They took files. They threw them all over. And they took pictures, and they released them to the public that this is President Trump's office. We caught him with all of this stuff, like it was all over the floor of my office. These are crooked people. These are descendants. So don't ask me about, did you go after? Letitia James, in my opinion, and I only say in my opinion because I guess the lawyers would prefer that I say that because I have a much stronger opinion. She's a total crook. She's a lowlife. Comey's a dirty cop. Bolton actually helped me a lot because he was crazy. He's the one, him and Cheney, a couple of people got Bush to go out and blow the hell out of the Middle East and then then leave. And actually, Bolton helped me because every time somebody saw Bolton standing behind me, foreign countries, they conceded. You know why they conceded? Because they said, Bolton's a nut job. Trump is going to take us to war. But I don't listen to people that are stupid. Go ahead.
This is a question about pardons. The Trump family is now perhaps more associated with cryptocurrency than real estate. You and your sons, Don Jr. and Eric, have formed World Liberty Financial with the Witkoff family,
Right.
helping to make your family millions of dollars. It's in that context that I do want to ask you about crypto's richest man, a billionaire known as CZ. He pled guilty in 2023 to violating anti-money laundering laws.
Right.
The government at the time said that CZ had caused significant harm to U.S. national security, essentially by allowing terrorist groups like Hamas to move millions of dollars around. Why did you pardon him?
Okay, are you ready? I don't know who he is. I know he got a 4-month sentence or something like that, and I heard it was a Biden witch hunt.
In 2025, his crypto exchange Binance helped facilitate a $2 billion purchase of World Liberty Financial's stablecoin. And then you pardoned CZ. How do you address the appearance of pay for play?
Well, here's the thing. I know nothing about it because I'm too busy doing the other.
But he
I can
got a
only
pardon.
tell you that.
But he got a
no,
pardon.
I can only tell you this. My sons are into it. I'm glad they are because it's probably a great industry, crypto. I think it's good. You know, they're running a business. They're not in government, and they're good. My one son is a #1 bestseller now. My wife just had a #1 bestseller. I'm proud of them for doing that. I'm focused on this. I know nothing about the guy other than I hear he was a victim of weaponization by government. When you say the government, you're talking about the Biden government. It's a corrupt government. Biden was the most corrupt president, and he was the worst president we've ever had. I only care about one thing. Will we be #1 in crypto? Crypto has turned out, and in that sense, I've been right. Crypto's turned out to be a massive industry, if you want to call it that. And I'm very proud to say that we are far and away ahead of China and everybody else. Now, China's getting into it very big right now. If you want to go after people, you're going to kill that industry, and it'll be very bad. Tremendous number of jobs. I campaigned positively on crypto, very openly. I campaigned. Biden campaigned against it. When Biden found out that I was getting like 100% of the crypto vote, which was a lot, he switched totally, and he went in favor of crypto. They went totally in favor. They had many people under indictment. They let them all go. They let them all go. You know that. Many people were under indictment. Biden was a corrupt president. Biden went all in on crypto at the very end because he thought he could get some votes. It didn't work. They voted for me. I want to make crypto great for America. That's the only thing. I don't want to have somebody else have crypto and have China be #1 in the world in crypto. Because in crypto, it's a kind of an industry where basically you're going to have #1 and you're not going to have a #2. And right now, we're #1 by a long shot. I want to keep it that way. The same way we're #1 with AI, we're #1 with crypto. And I want to keep it that way.
I know my time is limited with you, so I want to be respectful of you, Mr. President. The issue of political violence I want to get to, because you were nearly assassinated in Butler, Pennsylvania. Charlie Kirk
Yep.
was assassinated. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's house was firebombed. Minnesota lawmaker murdered. What's your message to those on the left and the right who would seek to commit acts of violence?
Well, I think primarily on the left, a little bit of both, but I think primarily on the left. I think they have to tone it down. I think they have to approve the shutdown so it's not shut down. I think it's very bad what they're doing. They're hurting people. If you think about it, if people aren't going to get paid, they're going to be, a lot of angry people out there. They want to get their food. They want to get the money so they can live. In some cases, whatever they want to get, they want to get. I think by the Democrats not giving us the votes, I think it endangers both parties. I think it's very bad. There's never been a case like this. This is fairly standard stuff. Extensions are almost automatic. In fact, they were virtually automatic. This is the only time they don't want to do the extension because they're losing so badly that they said maybe we have some leverage. One of the senators said that. Maybe this is the first time we have some leverage.
I wonder if
But they really don't have leverage because
wonder if we're at
the
a breaking
Republicans
point.
can't be extorted in order to ruin our country.
Do you feel like we're at a breaking point, given everything that
No.
you just said?
No, it's been much worse.
Because you
I mean, over history, it's been much worse.
Sure, the political violence that, we just outlined, the number
that's-
of members of
that's a
people in
different
public
question. Yeah, I think-
that have been targeted. And then I
Yeah.
just read that there's now a number of your cabinet secretaries and aides who are now living on military bases.
Yeah. Usually when people talk, they're not the problem. It's the ones that don't talk in terms of that. But I think it's a lot of the rhetoric. Look, they call me a Nazi all the time. I'm not a Nazi. I'm the opposite. I'm somebody that's saving our country. But they call me Nazi. they have talking points, they have just talking points. And the press is largely responsible for it. The fake news, what they've done, I think one of the greatest terms I've ever come up with is fake news. What they've done to our country is very bad. They have to change around. Now, nobody believes the fake news. Nobody believes them. I mean, they've gone, you talk about popularity, you talk about approval. Their approval numbers have gone from like in the 90s to in the teens now. We need borders. We need fair votes. And you really need a fair press. And you do. You have some great journalists, some great reporters, but you have some terrible, terrible, dishonest journalists. And I see it all the time because I'll give them a story and they'll have it. Even my trip with China, it was so successful. But of all, the Wall Street Journal, they said Trump lowers tariffs. That was the headline. Trump lowers tariffs. That wasn't what happened. I lowered tariffs in order to get everything that anybody could possibly dream of. The point wasn't lowering tariffs. I put a behind number, I cut it, and I got everything. And yet the headline in the Wall Street Journal, beautiful picture of myself and President Xi, everything nice, but the headline was, Trump lowers tariffs. That wasn't the story. The story was Trump got everything, including world peace. We're respected as a country. We're not threatened right now, and we're not going to be threatened. As long as we have a strong, smart president, we're never going to be threatened by anybody.
There's been a lot of talk about 2028 and who will be at the top of the Republican ticket. Can you set the record straight? You're not going to try and run for a third term?
Well, I don't even think about it. I will tell you, a lot of people want me to run, but the difference between us and the Democrats is we really do have a strong bench. I don't want to use names because it's inappropriate, but it's too early.
But people do like when you start talking about whether you like J.D. Vance or Secretary Rubio.
I do like J.D. Vance. I like Marco Rubio. I like so many people. We have an unbelievable bench. We could run two people together. We have a great bench. So I don't want to start talking about elections. It's too early. One thing I can tell you, the 2020 election was rigged. And a lot of people say, when it's rigged, you're allowed to do it again. It was rigged, and it's been caught, and you see the same information that everybody else does, and it's coming out now in spades. But with all of that, we have a great bench. We have unbelievable people. You could go up and down my cabinet. We have great people. They don't. They have a guy that's ruined the state of California, ruined it, destroyed it. And I have a lot of property out there, I can tell you. They've ruined the state of California. He has been terrible. Other than he's got a good line of bullshit, that's all it is. He's ruined the state. And he's one of the people running. Jasmine Crockett, she's a low IQ person. They say she might run for president. Jasmine Crockett, this is a very low IQ person. AOC, I watched her speak the other day. Almost the first time she was screaming, she was like a crazy person. She's got... not a good speaker, doesn't have, I don't think, but you never know what it is. You never know what it is that can spark an election. When Joe ran, the first time I thought he was terrible, he was horrible. I won by a lot. The second time he was running, he was doing very poorly, had a bad debate, and they replaced him in the middle of the election. This could only happen to me. They replaced him with somebody. The press got behind her. Oh, they were so behind her. But eventually she failed because she couldn't speak. She wasn't a very intelligent person, in my opinion, but she couldn't speak properly. She could not speak. And actually, 60 Minutes paid me a lot of money. And you don't have to put this on because I don't want to embarrass you, and I'm sure you're not. I think you have a great new leader, frankly, because the young woman that's leading your whole enterprise is a great, from what I know, I don't know her, but I hear she's a great person. But 60 Minutes was forced to pay me a lot of money because they took her answer out that was so bad, it was election changing 2 nights before the election, and they put a new answer in. And they paid me a lot of money for that. You can't have fake news. You've got to have legit news. And I think that it's happening.
Mr. President?
I see good things happening in the news. I really do. And I think one of the best things that happen is this show and new ownership, CBS and new ownership. I think it's the greatest thing that's happened in a long time to a free and open and good press.
Mr. President, can I also ask you, we're now at the end of your first year of this second term. What do you hope to accomplish in the next 3 years?
Well, I hope I can have the same year that we had. Look, we have been acknowledged to have the greatest 9 months. It's 9 months. the greatest 9 months in the history of the presidency. So if I can keep that going, I'll be very happy. Because, what we've done, I inherited a mess. And I've fixed it, other than it will take a while to get all the criminals, the real criminals, the real bad ones out. But we've gotten a lot of them out. We've gotten a lot of the murderers out. We've gotten a lot of the people from jails out. And we've taken them back to their countries. In some cases, they're so dangerous that we've actually had to put them in our jails because we didn't want them coming back. I want to just keep it going pretty much the same way. I want safety in our cities. Our cities are a mess. And I hate to say it, they're Democrat-run cities. If you take the top 25 cities, they're almost every one of them is run by Democrats.
And to people that say they're
Cashless bail, I'll
struggling
give you
with
an
the cost
example.
of living
Yeah,
expenses, what
cashless
could you do
bail.
about that?
Well, let me just say, cashless bail is a disaster, got to be changed. Sanctuary cities really have to be changed. They're sanctuary, you know what they're sanctuary for? Criminals. Some basic things have to be changed. But one of the things I really have focused on is making Chicago great again. And we're just getting started in Chicago. But what we did in D.C., well, we took D.C. from being so bad to so beautiful. The restaurants are booming. You can't get into a restaurant. They were closing, and now they're all opening. You can't get a restaurant now. You can't get into a restaurant. But if you want to buy a restaurant or own a restaurant, you almost can't find it. I want to make this happen all over the country. I want it to be like that in New York, in L.A., in Chicago. I want to do it as much as can. By the way, Memphis, we're there now. Memphis was a dangerous hellhole, 65% down in crime. And this is after 2 weeks. We can do it all over the place. It's turned out to be a new passion for me, making our city. I had no idea we could be that successful. I thought it would take a much longer period of time. Do you know, in Washington, in 12 days it was really good. In 1 month it was close to perfect.
And for those that are suffering with cost of living increases and saying they're living paycheck to paycheck?
Well, I'd be very upset with Biden because we don't have any of those problems. We don't have inflation. Essentially, we don't have inflation. I inherited the worst inflation in the history of our country. We don't have inflation. We're down to 2%, even less than 2%. A couple of items like beef, I'm getting down. But our groceries are down.
Healthcare premiums?
I can fix health care, give them better health care for less money. Obamacare is hurting people. Obamacare was a disaster from day one. I can fix it and make it good. I'd really rather start with a fresh plate, but if it's required to keep it, we can make it much better. But it's bad health care, and they're going to get big increases, and that has nothing to do with me. That has to do with the fact that it was originally put into play. It's a shame. But we can make it better. Energy is way down. You're going to have $2 gasoline very soon. Nobody could believe it. You were at $4, $5, $6, and even $7. Look at the cost of gasoline in California, what it was. I brought it down. Problem is, when I bring it down here in California, they put more tax. They tax the gasoline to such an extent. No, we're in great shape. This country is in great shape. We're ready to really rock. As I say often, we were a dead country. We were a dead country 1 year ago. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. Leaders have said that to me. Just recently they said that to me. Even President Xi, he said, I'd like you to be congratulated. He said it so beautifully. I'd like you to be congratulated on the incredible job you did in bringing back the United States of America. President Xi said that to me.
I know we're out of time, but just on that matter, when we talk about that, because I know how closely you follow the stock market, do you worry about an AI bubble?
I guess I worry about everything, I'm a worrier, I worry. But you know what I do? I worry and then I fix it. That way I don't have to worry.
There's a lot of money behind AI.
Well, there's a lot of money. And right now I'm taking advantage of it because we're leading AI. We're leading it by a lot. China's in second place, but we're leading it by a lot. We have the greatest minds of any country anywhere in the world, and we're using that. I'm using those great minds to help us. Now, will something happen later? I guess, something, but it could also be something very good happens. And I hope it's going to be very good. But if it's not so good, we're protected. Our country is doing great. We're strong. We're solid. We've never been, I think we haven't been like this in maybe ever. We have a great country, and you should be very proud of it.
Mr. President, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Nora.
Thank you.